Hi, this is Vince, Auto Restoration Videos. Today's video is going to be how to reupholster trim pieces, okay? Like rocker arms, that kind of stuff. Now, see this trim piece here? This goes on the car, on the door, or on a... No, this goes on the left quarter trim panel, okay? On the 911 Porsche. Now this is made out of metal, and you can see the metal has leather glued right around it. Alright? And if you look at the back of this, very closely, you can see there's like starting to be a little bit of corrosion, a little bit of rust and everything. So what you have to do is remove this just by pulling it off, or like this, just take it off. You get down to the bare metal. Now once you get down to the bare metal, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get this thing and remove all that rust that was on here. Now ideally it would be good if you had a sandblaster or a media blaster or a glass bead cabinet, then it would be no problem. Okay? But if you don't, do it old school. Get yourself a wire brush, a good one, made in USA. Go over the whole thing, brush all that stuff off, get as much as you can. And you can even get like a little sanding disc, a little grinder or something, you know, and finish the rest of it up. And then you probably still have a couple little bit of pieces of rust on here, like little fine stuff. Go over it again with some like emery paper or something. And then you're going to have to chemically treat this to remove the rust, and you have to get something called metal prep. And you wipe it on, you let it sit for a little bit, and then you have to wash it off, and then you have to get yourself a wet rag or something and go over the whole thing, and then you have to air dry the whole thing. Alright? Or you could just get yourself some rust remover. Alright, even something like navel jelly or something. Just heap the stuff on here and follow the directions on the can. Alright, now there's a bunch of other rust removers out there, and a lot of this stuff I'm not too happy with. That's why whenever possible I try to glass bead or sandblast it. This way you don't have to, the job won't come around and bite you in the butt another 6 months down the road when your rust actually starts coming through the paint again. Now, it's always better to do it right the first time than to fart around with this aftermarket rust remover stuff that hardly ever works. Okay, now after you do that and you get this thing nice, looking good, you want to paint this thing with some good prime. I would suggest using an acid-based primer. Alright, this way it'll really grab into that metal and hold on tight. And then after that, get yourself some black enamel or black lacquer, whatever you want, and paint the whole thing black. Alright? And then put this thing out in the sun or let it dry completely. Now you probably ask, how do you know when it's dry completely? Because if it isn't dry completely and you put glue on there and then you go to put something else on, what's going to happen is the glue is going to attack the paint and lift it right off. Alright? It has to be completely dry. If you can smell the paint. It's not dry. It's as simple as that. Now, you might even, the best thing you could do is put it out in the sun. Now that's good if it's summertime, I know, but if it's winter, put the thing on top of a radiator or something. You got to put one of those big cast iron radiators, or situate it right in front of the ductwork of if you got a hot air blower or something. You know, it's got to get the heat and it's got to have air flowing around it to completely dry. Now, after you get to that point, and it looks like this, okay, Then you want to get your cover that came off it. You can see all the rust on here and everything. This material had a heavy coating on the back of fabric, and what would happen is when it would get real damp, the moisture would come and collect underneath this, and it would lay up against the bare metal. Not a good idea, I'll tell you, especially bare metal. Think about that. You got a sponge laying on bare metal. What's wrong with that idea? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. This is a Porsche too, so you wonder like, hey, where were these people's heads at when they may put this thing together? So anyway, what you want to do is use this as a pattern, okay? As long as you have, you know, it's in fairly good shape like this, you don't have 1,000 rips in it or nothing, this will make a good pattern. Alright, now, sometimes what I do, if you have some real big curves and stuff in here, you might want to get like a piece of muslin, a cotton, a heavy piece of cotton or something, and you put it on here, you get yourself an iron, and you go over the whole thing with an iron, and you try to make this thing level. But really, most of the time I find that that's unnecessary, and you can just go ahead and put some weights on this and lay it down on your leather and just trace it. Okay, now this is actually vinyl, but make it out of leather. It will look so much better. Now, let's go back to the old piece. Well, this is the one from the other side of the car. Now, if you touch this, it's very hard to the touch. Okay, it's because it got metal under it. Now, what you want to do is get yourself some closed cell foam, or about maybe a 1/16 or 1/32 of an inch thick, or you want to get yourself some plastic foam. Alright, let me see if I can find something. This is plastic foam. Alright, you see this a lot in, you know, in packing and everything, and it's closed cell. Now, what does closed cell mean? You can put this thing in water, and you can take it out and just go like this, and it won't be holding any water because it does not absorb water. So you're not going to have that problem that the original one had. Okay? So, what do you do after that? You get this. Get your piece, you wrap your foam just on the surface of your piece. Cut it flush to the edges, okay? Use some rubber contact cement. You can get like weldwood, you know, stuff they put down Formica with it, you know, it's like a rubber contact cement. That stuff's pretty good. Or you can even go sometimes to a dollar store where they have tubes of the stuff. You can get it there. Alright? And check that stuff out before you use it to make sure the stuff dries completely. Okay? So what you want to do is get a sample piece. It's a little piece of metal also. Put some contact cement on it. Put it on both sides. Let it set up a little bit till it gets nice and tacky. And then stick it together. And then wait about two hours or something like that, 2 or 3 hours. See if it'll come apart. If it comes right apart like this, throw the stuff out. But I went to a dollar store not too long ago. I got about 3 or 4 tubes of this contact cement. This stuff works better than the weldwood contact cement. And it's in a little tube. That's fantastic. So I use that most of the time. Alright? Now, after you get this whole thing all glued together and glued on here, we're talking about just the front surface. Do not go over the edge and wrap it around. Okay? Because then when your leather goes on, you won't be able to get a good, hard, real solid surface for your cover to go on. Now what do you want to do? You want to cut this out of the leather. Use a piece of white chalk, sharpen it up to like it's a point, and then just lay this thing on the front like so. Wrap it around the sides, glue it on the back. You can put a little bit of glue on the front too. Alright, now you don't have to go real crazy with this, but you want to make sure that this gets firmly attached. Just put a little bit on the front, alright? Just a little. No need to go crazy like I said, because you don't want any lumps on the front. If you go crazy with it on the front, you might find out that you have a bubble under here or something. Or you might find out that you have a little lump on one side or something. You don't want that. If you want to glue your leather to the plastic foam that's on here, I suggest you get a spray can of the glue. Okay, you can go down to Home Depot and get 3M has some stuff, or trim adhesive spray, and give this thing a light spray. Alright, then give the back of your leather a light spray. Then you can go ahead and lay the stuff on. But do not get it out of a tube or with an acid brush or a 1-inch brush and smear that stuff on. That is way, way too thick. The job's going to come out looking terrible. So what I'm going to do now is cut the piece out, glue it on, wrap it around the back, and that's it. I'm going to keep this thing short and sweet. I mean, there's really nothing to it. I mean, just make sure you cut your piece of leather a little bigger than it should be. Okay, this is a regular piece of leather. I should be able to get 2 pieces out of this. This is Italian leather. It's nice stuff. And we're going with black instead of brown. Alright, I'm trying to keep this thing short because I don't want it to take all here on YouTube to post like it has done in the past. Okay guys, now you got the idea how to do it. I'm not going to hold your hand through this thing. That's why I just gave you the information, short and sweet, almost. So this is Vince, AutoRestorationVideos.com, signing off for this video. I'm trying to test out this camera here too, and all this other stuff. So this is a good test piece for me. Take it easy guys. Good luck with whatever upholstery you're doing.